It is Tuesday, July the 16th, 2024, and it has been a very long day of appointments for me. I took Amaya to appointments this morning and LJ to appointments this afternoon. Anytime I go out in public, there's always an opportunity to learn something new about what is going on in this world that needs to change dramatically for me to want to continue to be here. But the first thing I want to say is one of the comments in the conversation I had with Amaya this morning was about, what the benefits are of having a mother who is still involved in her medical care, especially living in Norfolk, Virginia and Hampton Roads in 2024. Because when it came time to check in and then to check out with billing, I am the responsible party for her billing. So, my message to her was, I need you to continue to work with me with having access to your medical care to ensure that you are getting the help and the support that you need. But she doesn't mind having me there. LJ just really, he needs me to be there, but it wouldn't bother him one way or the other. Even though he is able to go through appointments on his own, he likes having me there, and I like being there. So the question was, for these folks who she is being a free Uber for example, some folks who ask her for rides and didn't offer her any money for gas. Like, where's their mother? Are they willing to, put gas in their car, or, oh, they don't have one? Are their mothers willing to come pick them up from work, to give them a ride? Or, what's the situation? Like, why don't these people have access to their family? Which, of course, we know is a complicated question, but I was trying to put it in a context that would be meaningful for us both, given the activities that we participated in today. Now, with that being said, I had to have some labs done for LJ because he is still receiving treatment for his skin trauma, which it's still healing. It's nowhere near as bad as it was. I'm grateful to Dr. Bird, who is a very good physician. She was able to address all of the concerns that I had medically, except for the actual full recovery and then healing of his skin. But, we have to deal with it as it comes. And the place that I chose to have the labs drawn was Centera Brock Cancer Center, because they also have a centralized lab there. And I hope to never go there again, but I may have to go back just to take video for people who cannot get to that center, to just show why I felt so disrespected being in that facility, which opened in 2019. It's not just that it is directly across from an also new orthopedic service and surgery center, not an office, not a department. They both have these huge buildings, one for cancer research, and then right next to it, across the parking lot, is a orthopedic specialty facility, which I did take video of last year as I was touring the Centera Lee Medical Complex that also includes the St. Mary's Home for Disabled Children. The reason that I felt disrespected in this, it's a 4-story building. And inside this building, on the ground floor, they have a cafe. I'm like, they had a cafe, which surely must be for the medical students, because there is an alliance that came together to bring this building to life. But the first floor is mostly labs, the MRI machines, blood labs, all that kind of stuff. On the second floor, it is all oncology doctors. Oncology is cancer. That is a medical specialty just in cancer. That's all they do is cancer. And then on the third floor are all the surgeons. And on the fourth floor are the therapies, the physical therapy and that kind of thing. I say, is there mental health therapy? And of course there isn't. But, what are they thinking? These people have cancer. But there is a specific area for breast cancer, And there's also a gynecology, reproductive cancer area in this. It just, and then of course I'm going to show you this video real quick of out front. Hello, I am standing in front of the new Brock Cancer Center and just wanted to share this wonderful Norfolk mermaid that they have right in front of their main entrance here. Because Norfolk is the mermaid city. So what was most significant to me as I entered their building is the sign on the building naming it as Luke Hillier Research Alliance. And I said, oh, well, what is that? Well, let me show you some photographs that I was able, some screenshots that I was able to take from the internet to give you a little bit of perspective. And then I'm going to show you the news report on the opening of this center. And then I'm going to show you an interview with one of the top oncology physicians who is now practicing out of this building. And as you're reviewing all of this, I want you to consider that if you're going to do research relative to cancer, what needs to be researched is the cause, not how to treat it. Because if you understand the cause, you can eliminate the cause, and then people don't have cancer in the first place. I know what the cause of cancer is. I have exhaustively tried to expose and explain to everyone what the causes are of all of the various forms of cancers. And a big piece of it is environmental quality. That's a big part of what causes cancer. And if you think about what happens to a piece of meat if you try to cook it in a microwave, and how certain parts of the meat will become tough and overcooked while other parts remain undercooked. That's what it's like when you live in an environment that is highly radioactive. And when you think about radioactive, people think about things like green goop. They don't think about electromagnetic waves that are circulating through the environment daily, 24 hours a day, at varied intensities based on where you live and how the infrastructure is designed. Because in order to research cancer, you have to have cancer patients. You cannot, in order to research treatment, you have to have patients who have all of the symptoms and the damage of cancer. And then you can try to determine how do we reverse it, or how do we slow it down, or how do we minimize the damage. And who would want that kind of information and why? All right, so I'm just going to put all of these things together and leave it for you to contemplate in full context.
Sentara Healthcare announced it has received a $3 million philanthropic gift from the Hillier Ignite Foundation. The gift is to create the Luke Hillier Cancer Research Alliance at the Sentara Brock Cancer Center in Norfolk. This alliance will enable further collaboration between Sentara and longtime partners such as EVMS and Virginia Oncology Associates. It will significantly advance oncology research and cancer care in the Hampton Roads area. The Luke Hillier Cancer Research Alliance is the latest addition to the many new services the Sentara Brock Cancer Center offers.
Thanks for joining us this week as we continue to highlight National Cancer Survivorship Month. Each week we're going live with one of our cancer experts and survivors to learn from their experience and hopefully help you or a loved one navigate life beyond cancer. Today, we're honored to be live here at Sentara Brock Cancer Center with Dr. Thomas Alberico, who is board certified in medical oncology, hematology, and internal medicine. Dr. Alberico has been voted top oncologist and top hematologist by his peers for the last 10 years, and he's received many awards for his outstanding work in cancer research. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Alberico.
Good morning.
One of the questions we wanted to start with is, could you just tell us more about why you decided to become an oncology physician?
Sure. I'll take a very long story and shorten it. I was actually an English major in college, and so decided that I probably wasn't good enough to be a writer. And my father said, "Well, I'm going to, we got 4 years of college covered, and then you're going to have to figure it out." So I said, "Well, maybe I would think about applying to one of the professional schools." And so I applied to medical school, got in. And then when I did my residency at the University of Virginia, I had an interest in the biology and the bioscience of bone marrow stimulants, transmitters within the bone marrow that would stimulate cells to grow. Because
When you plant a seed in the ground, because that is what the cells in bone marrow are, what stimulates the seed to grow? What actions does someone who has planted the seed need to take to make the seed grow? Stem cells have the capacity to become any cell needed to regenerate in the body. That is why they are stored inside the bone, which should be the hardest, most protective structure of the body.
at that point in time, bone marrow transplant was just cracking. Bone marrow transplant was just cracking. Bone marrow transplant was just cracking. And so I started there in 1979, many years ago. And so near the end of my fellowship, I was very involved in the bone marrow transplant program, and so developed an interest and did a fair amount of basic research in ways to stimulate blood cells within the bone marrow to help the marrow recover faster after chemotherapy. And that really just morphed into cancer care management, hematology and oncology care, and I elected to leave the academic community and go into the private sector. Go into the private sector.
And that's amazing. You've seen so many things change about cancer treatment.
Enormous. There have been enormous changes, and not the least of which is the last 10 years, 5 to 10 years, which is the last 10 years, 5 to 10 years. There have been dramatic changes in how we approach cancer treatment and support. The one thing that changed dramatically through my training and into my first years here was the adjunctive piece of treatment. So the chemotherapy drugs didn't change a whole lot, unfortunately, but what changed was the anti-nausea medicines that we had were dramatically better. The ways to administer chemotherapy through tunneled lines improved our access, venous access, immensely. And then these medicines that I did some of my research on, which would stimulate white cells to grow back faster after chemotherapy, decreased the risk of infections fairly dramatically. So it was really adjunctive care that was helpful. And then in the last really 10 to 15 years, we have been advancing more in the way of targeted therapies, both pills and intravenously. We use the word immunotherapy loosely, but the new immunotherapies that are out there have had incredible impact on treatment of many diseases, lung cancer, melanoma, many other malignancies.
That's amazing. And I know that today, we're at 16.9 million people in the United States who are cancer survivors, and that's very much in part thanks to research. Can you talk about why research is so important?
Yeah, it's hard to, cancer care treatment is a multifaceted disease. Cancer care treatment is a multifaceted disease. And so it's hard to say, you know, this is most important, that's most important, but I would say it is not hyperbole to say that cancer research probably is the single most important part of cancer care, exclusive of the day-to-day care of the patient, exclusive of the day-to-day care of the patient, exclusive of the day-to-day care of the patient themselves. You know, the research, the reason these treatments, the reason these adjunctive therapies have come to the forefront in the last 10, 15, 18, 20 years is because of research. It's why the immunotherapies are here now. It's why some of these targeted treatments for driver mutations are available now. So research has been and will continue to save lives. I mean, so research is incredibly important to our care of cancer patients every day.